Hello, everyone. Welcome to Heart Center Tarot. As always, my name is Marina, and I will be your guide for this portion of the journey. I have a special guest with me today. This is Fernando Marron, but you like to be called Fernie,
Correct. Yes.
right? Perfect. Excellent. But it's such a distinguished name. Like when you say it, Fernando Marron. It
Yeah.
like yeah, it just sounds so wonderful. But Fernie, it is. So, just a few guidelines for you guys that are here. Um, if you want Fernando or Fernie or myself to connect to someone on the other side, please be as specific as you can. Like, give us a name. Um, maybe if you know that what year they passed, that the
Well,
more
even
information that we.
yeah, and I would actually say they don't even have to give me a name or a date or anything, just a connection. Like, I'd like to connect with my father, or I'd like to connect to my mother. That will work just fine. That way, it gives me a chance to validate or get some of those details for them.
Perfect. Okay. There you go. There you go. So, hello to Lottie and Sonia. Rachel is here. Watcher 9997. Sonia Oh, I think I already said Sonia Pinola. So, thank you for being here. We are simulcasting this to both channels. So, you'll be able to see it on my channel and on Fernie's channel. And if you're on my channel, make sure that you go over to Fernie's channel as well. Give him a like, share, and subscribe. That would be very nice if you could do that. And if you go in the description of the video below, all his, like his website, everything, his contact information is on there. So you can reach out to him if you want to book a reading, right? Do you do personal readings?
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is my full-time job, so I do this. I've been doing this full-time since 2014, actually.
Oh my gosh,
Mhm.
nice. Okay, so you're an old hand at this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. So, yeah, if you'd like to book a reading with him, get in touch and you can set that up. If you'd like to book a reading with me, same thing. You can reach out in the description. I've got the email on there. And yeah, we'll get things set up. And I'm already booking into August, you guys. So, if you're interested, don't leave it too late. All righty. Well, now that the technical stuff of things is kind of out of the way, um, for those people who aren't familiar with you, and I can't imagine who isn't, but how did you get started? How did you
Yeah.
get on this?
Yeah. Bit of a journey. I think when I was born, as a child, there's stories about me as a toddler and as an infant having these experiences. And one of the very first experiences that occurred was actually as a child, my very first year as a baby. My mom had a experience where her mother, my grandmother, who I never got a chance to meet, one day I was in my crib and my mother was going about doing chores in the house, and she heard me giggling and laughing, and so she thought, well, what's going on? So she came over to the bedroom and looked inside to see if I was okay. And there next to my crib, she saw my grandmother. And she was wearing a pink kind of fuchsia dress, and she was bathed in light. And she was looking at me, and I was looking at her. And my mom just was in complete shock because she hadn't seen her mother since her passing. And my grandmother told her, take care of him. I'm going to send an angel to help you. And that
Oh,
was her experience. And then she just
whoosh.
evaporated. So
Yeah.
that was one of the first stories of my childhood. And as a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, I used to talk in my aunt's house where I used to spend quite a bit of time. She had this kind of old Victorian style chair, kind of a Queen Anne chair, and I would just sit there at the bottom of the chair, just looking at it as if someone were sitting there, and I would just sit there for hours, staring and staring as if I were listening intently. And I had supposedly an imaginary friend who I used to talk to all the time, and they were constantly giving me information. I don't remember any of this. I've just heard this from my mother and my cousin who used to
Yeah.
babysit me. But fast forward when I was in my early teens, I had a really interesting experience. where I was walking into my kitchen. At the time, my mother was at work, and I used to just, hang out at home when she was gone. And it was on the weekends. And I walked into the kitchen, and I had this image in my mind. It was kind of like a memory of something that hadn't happened yet. And the image was of the kitchen filled with black smoke and the stove burning up because there was a fire at the stove, and the cabinets as well, also
Oh my
on
gosh.
fire. And so I had that visual or that image, again, very much just like a memory that hadn't happened yet. And I heard a voice in my mind, and the voice sounded just like my voice. It didn't really sound drastically different, except it was softer, more calm, almost
Yeah.
wiser. And it said, what would you do if there was a fire in the kitchen? What would you do? And just the question itself posed caused me to think, well, what would I do if something like this happened? Not even questioning that voice, not even questioning
Yeah.
the image I was seeing, just like, what would I do? So I came up with this idea. Okay, well, I paid attention in school, in elementary school, where they used to bring these mobile trucks that were set up like the inside of a house, but they would teach us kids how to deal with fires if we were
Yeah.
ever in a fire. So it would create smoke inside of the room, and all the alarms would go off, and we'd have to like roll, at the
Yeah.
bottom
Stop,
of
drop,
the
and
floor.
roll.
Yeah, stop, drop, and roll, exactly. And so I remembered that, and I said, oh well, okay, if there's a fire, obviously the smoke is going to be really bad. I need to make sure I don't breathe in and inhale that, because I could probably die from just that alone. So I
Yeah.
decided I would take a deep breath, and then, not being able to see where the sink would be at, I would just walk straight ahead towards the sink and grab the water hose out of the sink, and then go ahead and spray down the fire, and then go out that door. And at the time, the house that we lived in, every single door and window was covered with a burglar bar, because it was a bad neighborhood. And we didn't really have any way to open or unlock those bars, even the exterior door that was burglar barred.
Yeah.
We only had one door in the house that we would go in and out through, which didn't have bars, which made no sense to me now that I think about it. But everything else was covered up. So
Yeah.
that was the only way in and out. And that was in the kitchen. But I came up with that plan, and I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And so every day for almost 2 weeks, I rehearsed it just 3, 4, 5 times a day, without even questioning why I was doing this.
Yeah.
And fast forward 2 weeks, my mom's at work, and I was watching TV, and I was hungry. So I went to go make myself some breakfast. And the stove that we had at the time was a hand me down by my uncle. And it was an electric stove. Whenever we would use it, it wouldn't always adjust properly with the setting. And so we would have to put our hand over the coils and play with the knob just to get it to
Yeah.
turn off. Because once you felt the heat stop, you would, okay, now it's
Yeah.
off. So that's what I was doing. I did that to turn it off. And at the time, we had a smoke detector above, just right above the stove, which someone thought that was a great idea, because,
Yeah.
where else would you put a smoke detector? So every time we cooked, it would always go off. It would
It
just
went off. Yeah.
blare. Yeah, it was just an ongoing thing that we got used to over time. So I made my breakfast. The smoke alarm was blaring. I checked to make sure it was off, and then I moved the pan over. Then I went to my bedroom, and I started eating my breakfast and watching my Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah.
A few moments later, the alarm was still blaring, didn't think anything of it, but that voice in my mind that I had heard 2 weeks prior came back again. And this time it was a little more firm, a little more serious, and was very insistent. And it said, Fernando, go to the kitchen. And at first I thought to myself, no, I don't want to go to the kitchen. I want to
Yeah.
enjoy my breakfast and watch my cartoons. I don't want to get up. I'm lazy. So then again, the second time, Fernando, go to the kitchen. And it was a little louder, more firm. And it started to become, it felt like an obsessive thought whenever, let's say, you leave your home and you're not sure you locked the door. It's like, did I
Yes.
lock
Yeah.
that door? So it kind of became an obsessive feeling. And I thought to myself, well, no, I don't want to go to the kitchen. And I started having this kind of conversation with this voice in my mind and dialogue. No, I don't want to go. I want to stay here and eat my breakfast. And then another few moments later, Fernando, go to the kitchen. And then this time it was loud. It was like a parent scolding its child,
Yeah.
like, you need to do this right now.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I'm like, fine, fine, I will go to the kitchen. So I got up, I walked over to I was heading towards the kitchen. And as I started to approach the entranceway, I started seeing black smoke billowing out of the kitchen, and then like flashes of light coming from
Oh
the
my.
smoke. And I was like, and immediately I recognized what was happening. So I ran straight ahead to the doorway. And as I stood there, there exactly was the image that I had seen 2 weeks prior.
Yeah.
The room was filled with black smoke. You couldn't even see the rest of the kitchen. All you could see was the flashing of the fire at the stove and on the cabinets. So at that point, when you're faced with a situation like that, that isn't a normal thing you have to deal with, there's a level of shock and like, what do I
Yeah.
do? Like you freeze up, like, what
Yeah.
do I do? What
Panic.
do I do?
Yeah.
Yeah, you panic. Yeah, there was a panic that started to settle in. And immediately I'm thinking to myself, do I need to call 911? I need help. I need, and so I started thinking these things. What do I do? What do I do? And I felt this like, you know what to do. You've been practicing for this. You know exactly what to do. Do it. Do it. Like it was very
Yeah.
intentional. And so I'm like, okay, okay, okay. And so immediately I took my deep breath and then went straight ahead to the sink and I pulled out the dish hose and sprayed down the fire and then went out that door, leaving the door open so that the smoke could vacate. And I caught my breath. And at that point, that was it. It was over. And the house didn't burn down. It was a big, I was so
I
afraid of
bet.
being in
Yeah.
trouble. Yeah, because I was like, they're gonna think I did this or that I was being careless. And I was so scared because I was like, I'm gonna get in so much trouble, but the ceiling was full of smoke. And my uncle, he lived just next door. I called him as soon as this all cleared away. And I said, the stove caught a fire. He ran over to me and he was like, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine, I'm fine. But I didn't tell him what happened or any of those things that
Yeah.
occurred. I didn't tell anybody actually, because I thought that was just insane. And I didn't know what was going on. And then after that, I started having other experiences that people were witnessing, and it got me to start to ask questions like, what's going on? What is this? What's happening to me? And after that, I just started to explore my abilities and what this really was. And I became just entrenched with, parapsychology. And I saw Sylvia Brown on the Montel Williams show, which was a huge inspiration for me at the
Yes.
time. So that helped me to kind of start to figure out. And I used to spend time in the library at school reading everything. And then when I ran out of books to read, I would go to the public library in downtown and read
Yeah.
all those books. So it was a journey.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. Yeah. It's amazing when spirit comes in to talk to us, um, and how, yeah, it generally comes in with a whisper.
Hmm.
And then if you don't pay attention, it gets to the point that it's like a 2x4, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I can absolutely totally relate to that because I had a similar experience before. Same thing before I really kind of got into tarot again. I used to do it when I was younger,
Hmm.
um, tarot and oracle, and at that time, I mean, I would pick up a regular deck of cards, and I was reading a regular deck of cards.
Hmm.
So, um, and then yeah, I gave it up for I got married. I didn't have someone who supported me and
Hmm.
who thought this was I was being a witch and all that good stuff. But anyway,
Yeah.
so we parted ways, and I came back to Calgary, and then yeah, years later, sort of got back into it again.
Hmm.
And I had I remember clearly one day I had just finished watching something on TV, and the voice said, "Make your own deck of cards," and I went, "No." And then it was a couple days later or whatnot that it was make your own deck of cards. And again, I went, no, I'm not an artist. Like, no. And this happened a few times and it was getting a little more insistent. And
Mm.
so I thought, well, okay, fine. And I'm in my living room and I'm talking to spirit. And I said, fine, great, I'll do it. And you'll see, it'll turn out to be total garbage. And then I don't want to hear about it ever again. Well, that's not exactly what happened.
Right.
I I use that deck exclusively when I'm doing private readings because yeah,
Mm.
it tells me a story.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's listening to that voice and um, you know let
Following the cue.
and following the cue. Yeah.
Yeah. Back when I was a teenager, so I did readings as a teenager. I mean, I remember I was in middle school and in high school, and I used to just read. I mean, that was back when we had Netscape Navigator on the internet and,
Yes.
Internet Explorer. And so I used to go and just read and just read. And at that time in my life, we were very poor, so I couldn't afford to go buy tarot cards. And I wanted to know how to use them or how to play with them. So
Yeah.
what I did was I got a regular pack of just like those index cards that you get for school where you're studying,
Yeah.
and I went to the computer lab and I found the entire Rider Waite deck, but they were all miniature sized pictures and thumbnails, and so I printed out the entire set with those miniature thumbnails, and they were on color, and I cut them all out, and then I glued them to the index cards, and then I would put them in a little Ziploc sandwich baggie, and I would take them to school with me, and I would
Yep.
just like shake them up, and then let me do a read. So I would read like for my friends and tell them what I was seeing or what I was
Perfect.
feeling, and it was a lot of fun, and it really was a way for me to just start to connect with the energy and start to like intentionally try to sense things for people, and
Yeah.
I did do quite a bit of readings at that time, but I had a few experiences that were very unsettling and rough with a couple of people who just didn't really appreciate or weren't happy with what I had to say about them.
Yes.
So from those
Yes.
experiences, it kind of shut me down, and I didn't really want to do. And I remember having a conversation with God that night. Is that if people are going to be cruel to me, I don't want to do this. Like I'm trying to help people, and I was doing this for free. It's not like I was charging, and
Yeah.
people were treating me so disrespectfully and rudely, and I didn't have a backbone at that time in my life. Today it's a very different story. Today I can
Difference.
handle
Yeah.
myself. I could totally handle myself with people, but back then it was not that way. And so I shut down for a while, and I didn't really get back into reading for almost 15 years. It's a quite a long time, and I was shut down, and it would not work for me. I
Yeah.
would try to tune in, to tap in, to feel anything, especially with my empathic ability, because that was my primary ability at the time,
Yes.
and I couldn't even feel anything, and it was kind of heartbreaking because when you lose that ability or you disconnect from it, you almost feel a sense of something's missing. I don't feel
Mm.
like myself.
Yeah.
And
And you
yeah,
aren't.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so it took once I reconnected with that energy and with my ability fully, it just felt like myself again, and I was like, "Wow." And so now when I talk to people and they tell me, "I'm gonna maybe not do this," or "I'm gonna step away," I'm like, do not turn away from this, because if you turn away from this or you decide that maybe you're not ready, you're gonna shut this down, and it may take so
Yeah.
much work and effort just to
Yeah.
get back and build that momentum again. So I tell people, "Don't do it. Don't turn away from this. Learn how to use it or get a better balance."
Yeah. Yeah. Protect yourself and,
Mhm.
yeah, set up your boundaries. And those are
Mhm.
all things that, yeah, you kind of learn after the fact that what I should have done, but that's okay. As long as
Mhm.
the journey ends well, it
Yes.
doesn't matter where you started from, as long as you get to where you're going. So,
Mhm.
yeah, just very quickly, hello, Sharon Sipe. Sharon is, as you know, the moderator extraordinaire. We've got Gina M. Wiki is here, Angel, um, MCB00. So if I have missed anybody, please know that it is never anything personal. Oh, Sally Rodriguez is here. Um, it just means that as I'm trying to pay attention to what's happening in my chat and what's happening here
Mhm.
and doing everything else, I could miss you, but believe me, it is never anything personal, ever. So yeah, so there we go. So you said you've been doing this now since for about
2014. Yeah, that's what.
wow.
Yeah, it's been a while. I once I began to reconnect with this, which was probably in 2012. That's when I initiated my abilities to begin to come back, and it started with Reiki because at the time I had a friend who was a Reiki master, and she knew that I had been trying to reactivate and really tune in and hone into my psychic ability, but it was not working the way that I was used to, and it wasn't
Yeah.
as precise.
Yes.
And that was heartbreaking for me because I really wanted to do this full time. This is my like dream for so long. but
Yeah.
I accepted that maybe this is not what was meant for me. But I still wanted to do something in this industry. I wanted to do something with spiritual healing. And so she said, why don't you just get Reiki certified? I will certify you, and then you can just become a Reiki practitioner.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that's crazy. What is Reiki? What is that? And she says, oh, well, it's a form of healing. And she described it. And, you feel this energy with your hands. And I said, that sounds like BS. That doesn't sound like anything that's really happening,
Yeah.
because I'm a very, skeptical person. So I decided, she said, well, why don't you come in and have a session, and then you can tell me if you want to do it or not. And so she had been trying to talk me into this for 2 years. So I said, fine, I'll go and, have a session. And I did. I went, and she did a Reiki session on me. And the first time I had a session, I was like, what is going on here? Like, what
Yeah.
is this? Like, I was so excited because I could feel what she
Yes.
was doing, and her hands were not on me. And I could feel, and I was like, what are you doing? I have to find out what this is. So I went from being a complete skeptic, this is such BS, to, oh my God, I have to find out what this is and learn this. So I decided to go ahead and have go into the Reiki,
Yeah.
get certified, and I became a Reiki master.
Yeah.
And then I interned with her for about a year, and I was doing Reiki healing under her instruction and her guidance. And during that time,
He's
especially in the
doing.
yeah, especially in the first month of it, during that time, I was having difficulty connecting properly with the energy, and it wasn't coming through as consistently, and there was some irregularities with what I was channeling, and there was some issues happening there that actually helped me to get control of my psychic ability as well. But what she was telling me, I was trying to like be Jesus. I was trying to heal people, walk on water. I mean, I was trying to
Yeah.
be
Yeah. Yeah.
it. Yeah, it was all in ego, all in my head. And my friend said, you need to like surrender yourself to this process because you cannot control it. You will be healed in the process, but you need to give yourself over to being used, because this is not about you. This is about your connection with source and channeling that for this person. And I said, oh, well, how do I do that? And so she explained some things that I could do mentally to just kind of make that switch in my mind. And I said, okay, I'll try that on my next appointment. And I did. And immediately the switch happened. It was an instantaneous
Yeah.
switch in energy where suddenly, instead of me trying to feel and push into the energy, I just felt it rolling through me, and it was just kind
Yeah.
of just flowing. And in the process of that happening, in that first session where that switch happened, I started my abilities kicked back on. I mean, it was like an instant turn on. And I was like,
Yeah.
whoa. And suddenly I started to receive insight, and I was getting details and information about the individual. And I realized all those years, 15 years of not being able to access my abilities properly, suddenly there I was being able
Yeah.
to connect again. And all it took was just to surrender to being used in the process and not controlling how it was going to work.
Yes.
And that was the big key. That was the difference. And
Yeah.
after that, I spent several years trying to decide if I was going to do this full time or continue to do the traditional like job. I was a Starbucks manager for many, many years, and I had a fairly successful career as a Starbucks manager, but the company was changing. I really wasn't happy
Yeah.
anymore. And I was trying to consider other companies and go to other
Yeah.
management positions. But every time I would get to a certain point in the interview process where I'm like just one step away from being approved,
Yeah.
something would be created or something would happen that would cause the whole thing to stop. And it was happening consistently to where I was like, I'm the universe is trying to tell me something and I'm not listening. And so the one thing that I wanted to do so badly is the one thing that I wasn't doing because I didn't trust or have faith that this could work,
Yeah.
and that I could support myself or make this a living. But once I decided to just commit myself to the process and the path, and I spent a year, doing Starbucks as a manager, being exhausted, and then also being a Starbucks store manager and being a psychic and completely focusing on building up my clientele base, putting myself out there. That year was the year where everything changed. And suddenly
Yes.
after that year, I was able to leave Starbucks and do this full time. And I never looked back. And that's been since 2014, 2015.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Yeah. Like I said, it is amazing how, um, yeah, how spirit works,
Mm-hmm.
and how very often the key is to get out of our own way.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do, to kind of
Mm-hmm.
let go of the ego and say, okay, no, you're not in charge, right?
Right.
I recognize why you're here and what you're doing, but you're not in charge. So,
Yeah.
take a back seat. And it's a process that sometimes is very difficult to explain to people when they say, well, how do you do that? It's like explaining to you, why is the sky blue, or how do you know you're in love?
Right.
You just know it when it happens,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Well, going with the flow, I think at this point in my life, not only am I a psychic and a medium, but I'm also a spiritual teacher, and I've spent a long time and a lot of hours understanding and studying and practicing law of attraction, manifestational law, all of the processes for aligning with your life in a way where you can get the most out of your life. You can have the most
Exactly.
prosperous life, And I spent years, when I first found out about law of attraction and the idea of you can manifest your future, you can manifest your destiny. I was one of those people where it's like, oh, I want to like win the lottery. I want to do this and this. And like, I
Yeah.
like all those like things that you come up with. And I actually had a laundry list of things I wanted to manifest and create. And I interestingly enough, have been able to manifest every single thing on that list except for the one, which was winning the lottery. That was the one thing that never happened, which was
Not
not
yet.
supposed to.
Not yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the thing I think when it comes, and this is something that I teach people, you can manifest your destiny, you can manifest your future, you can align, but at the same time, we are looking at our future from the perspective of a human suffering from the human condition. And
Yes.
so, because of this, our conditioning, our thoughts, our desires are based in those very reduced understandings about this reality and what our purpose is and why we're here as spiritual beings in form. And over time, I've now realized that my soul has its own agenda, and it is desiring for certain things that I need to experience, that I need to go through. And if what I desire as a human under conditioned perspective is going to conflict with the soul's purpose and the soul's plan, then some of those things are just not going to happen,
Yeah.
or they will not happen in the way you would expect, because you must fulfill the soul's plan. You must fulfill these experiences that it desires to have to expand into its next level. So I trust it. I trust the process. Every now
Yeah.
and then I get a little antsy. I'm like, well, I want to know what's going on. And so I do want to figure out some things about the future, but for the most part, I try to just trust the process and flow with it. And
Yeah.
it has led to more prosperity and more stability, and honestly,
Exactly.
so much healing from trauma in my life that I could have imagined.
Yeah. Absolutely. It absolutely does. So, yeah. Very quickly, we've got Kiara Reed, Ivana Intuitive. Hello, Ivana. Debbie Roseflower, and yes, Stouffer is popped in. I hope he's still here. And how are you, Stouffer? New love. And Gina M. I think, again, if I've missed you, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I just wanted to acknowledge that
Hmm.
those people came in. So um, I have got 7 questions starred so far. So
Hmm.
we'll see how that goes, and just a, a few more minutes of getting to know each other. Like you don't invite someone over to dinner and say, okay, now start cooking, right?
Right,
You
right.
you slowly nudge them into the kitchen
Yeah.
and you show them where things
Yeah.
are first, right?
Yeah. How often do you get invited to event, to just parties, or just going just to engage with people, and only to suddenly find yourself being asked to do readings when even that's not why you were there. You were just there to go to an event.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then
Yeah.
it's like it's kind of like how people approach if if you're at a party and someone who's a lawyer,
Hmm.
or someone who's a doctor, it's like, oh,
Hmm.
hey, listen, just quickly, I have a legal question. Just
Yeah.
it'll only take a minute, right?
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
this mole. If you can just take a look at it real quick.
Right.
Yeah, and then before
Yeah.
you know it, you're there and you're doing everything for everybody, and it's
Right.
like,
Well, and
no,
even I think even with this work, because engaging with people energetically is such an intimate process, and it requires really a unique space for it to just kind of be in a way where you're honoring that connection. And so I equate it to, if you run into a gynecologist on the street, are you gonna, hey, I have a question, let me get on this table here, and in the restaurant, can you just do an examination to find out what's going on? It's like, no, you don't do that with a gynecologist, because what is that? So with us,
Exactly.
I always tell people, I don't really like to tell people when I'm at a party or an event that I'm a psychic or medium. I just say, oh, I do consulting work. I just leave it at that. And then
Yeah.
until they dig more, once they dig more, I'm going to be honest. I'm like, well, I'm a professional psychic and medium. Oh, and then you'll get different reactions. So people are like, oh, okay, well, it was really nice talking to you. And then they get kind of, scared off. Most people here, especially here in Santa Fe, because most people here are very intuitive and it's a very spiritual community. They will want to connect with the, like, oh, well, and they want to ask me for a reading. Or I'm like, oh, I'm off the clock right now, but we can totally set up a time at a later point, because I want to enjoy the party. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, thank you. And you set those boundaries. And as soon as you set those boundaries, they will respect you for it. And they really appreciate
Absolutely.
the clarity you've given them.
Yes, absolutely, and that's the big one, is
Mm-hmm.
to set the boundaries, to know where they are, to be able to express them without without coming off as being
Mm-hmm.
aggressive or whatever. It's like, no, I did exactly. I'm partying right now. I'm here enjoying your company. I'd love to talk to you, but yeah, for something more,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. You can certainly do that. And yeah, there's a group that I belong to that we gather every Sunday, and we'll go to different locations around the city. We socialize. We uh, have a little bit of a meal, maybe a beverage or two. And then after we've socialized for a while, we will open the space up to anyone that happens to be in there that wants a free reading, and we'll give them a free reading.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of it's a way to give back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a way to acknowledge spirit and say thank you for the gifts that I have.
Yeah.
Is pay it forward a little bit, but yeah, there's if I was, however, in a restaurant and someone said, "Oh, hey, I saw you. I know you can do this." It's like, no, I'm eating now. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right. As
yeah.
you're like shoveling food in your mouth. Oh, just like, oh, I was like, yeah.
Who do you want me to connect with? Yeah, they're not answering the phone right now. They said
Yeah.
come back later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, listen. Shall we start to get into some?
Yeah.
Let's do some things. Let's see how this goes. Okay. So the first question, and this was Eleonora jumped in before we even went live,
Mm-hmm.
and she wanted to know why my daughter is so hateful to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She's Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, did you want to go? So, my feeling on this, Eleonora, I think there's two things happening here. One is, I think that your life has caused you to go through a lot of experiences where sometimes you may feel as if you've been victimized, or as if you've been focused on in ways where it's unfair, or you haven't really gotten the best break in life with certain circumstances and people and so forth. And so a lot of these experiences that you've gone through, the trauma that you've endured, has had a huge impact on you. And whether you realize it or not, the way that you are expressing yourself, the way that you're communicating with other people, sometimes may come across in a very victimhood mindset. And there's nothing wrong with expressing your trauma or your pain, or even just in subtle ways letting people know that, hey, there's stuff that I'm processing or dealing with. And I think sometimes when you're sharing, I think in a way your daughter isn't always as receptive, or she sees it as you just complaining or whining. And then in a way, sometimes some of those statements can come across in a bit of a judgmental way. And I think some of it is that, but I also think some of it is that your daughter holds resentment, not just towards you, but also towards some of the things in her childhood. And I think that she uses you sometimes as a target for her own frustration and anxiety and just anger. And I think that she is using you, and then will personalize it or kind of custom fit the attack, because in a way she sees you as a weak person in comparison to her, because she's coming from a place of anger. And so there's a conflict of energy that's happening there, and she's just using you as a target. And so what I would say is, you might need to be aware of how you're expressing yourself and exchanging energy with your daughter, so that way she doesn't have fuel to fixate on, and then she can use that against you. That's one thing. The second thing I would say is, sometimes in our lives, even though we have family, even though we want to connect with our family, we want to have good relationships with our family members, we aren't always able to achieve that. And there are people in my life, family members, my youngest sister, for example, who I have no relationship with because they are who they are. And I do not feel the need, nor do I want the experience of having to try to make something work that just isn't going to work. And I think that the relationship with your daughter and you, I think, is got that dynamic to where it just may be, she might be diesel fuel and you might be a regular car, and that's not going to work together. So it might be hard to make that work and to make that get better. I would say do the best that you can, but you might need to kind of put a little bit more of a distance there between you and her because it may not be something you can work on.
Yeah, exactly. She is uh, she is reacting the way that she is because she there is a part of her that knows that as her mother, it's your job to love her no matter what.
Hmm.
So, usually who do we hurt the most? The ones we love are the ones that we hurt the most. So, in some aspects, you are the safe place that she can go and she can just kind of vent, and she can, blame you for a lot of things. And it is in some parts her way of saying things out loud, hearing them, and then maybe going back and internalizing it. But yeah, I get the her secrets. So,
Mm.
both of you are kind of dealing with secrets that you don't want to share because you think that you will appear lesser in somebody else's eyes, and it's not the case. And so to you're kind of repeating the same thing over and over and over again. If it's not working, then it's not working because of the process that you have to change the process, right? You have to
Mm.
change the mind thinking. So, if both of you, and this is divine tarantella, and this is from the Mystic Sisters deck. This is about confidence and self-expression. So you can, I think that it probably would be beneficial if you can sit down and just talk about and hear, really, really hear what is being said, because I I can intuit the conversations that you're having with your daughter, in that she tries to tell you something, and before you hear the whole sentence, you already start to formulate your reason as to why that is wrong, and
Hmm.
as to why no, 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 that's not exactly what happened. And then you turn it back on, if I didn't have any choice, I didn't this, I didn't that. No, sometimes the best thing to do is just to listen and say, you're right, you're absolutely right, and let it come out. And then maybe that's a vehicle for discussion. But I don't think she doesn't hate you,
Hmm.
um, just any more than I don't think you hate her. It's just a dance that you are so used to doing, and each one of you knows their part, that both of you have forgotten that you have a choice. You can choose not to dance. So
And it's
that's
interesting how we get triggered by family because, growing up, I had, there was a persona that I had become based on the conditioning of the interactions with my family.
yeah.
And every time even if I was away for a bit and come back in, I would immediately get triggered and old Fernie would come back out.
Yes.
And I'm like, I thought I was past this. I thought I was like a different person now. And then I get re triggered and reassembled into old Fernie mode. So
Yeah.
I actually took some time away from some of my family members because I wanted to focus on really being in my energy and in my power. And it's really hard to do that when you are constantly engaging in energy that is forcing you to be this old version of yourself that you're not happy
Yes.
being. And so with one of my cousins, my good cousins, who's one of my favorites, I had to do that where I was just away from the family for about 5 or 6 years and just very seldomly connected and interacted with them. And then after I came back in, it was just a completely different dynamic. And now we're much more closely connected than we were ever when I was a kid.
Yeah, absolutely. And I understand that. I have had to cut off all communication with my mother and one of
Mm-hmm.
my sisters
Mm-hmm.
because the energy was just too toxic for me. And no, I couldn't make any progress. And I wasn't about to, the expression about for the believer, no proof is necessary. For the non
Mm-hmm.
believer, no proof is enough. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I, I couldn't be in that energy and I couldn't be who I was. So I had to make the conscious choice to back away from that. And it was difficult um, because, the back of my head was, but, that's your mother.
Yeah.
Like, you walked away from your mother. And when you look at it from a different perspective, it's like, well, yes, I did. But if she wasn't my mother, if she was just a friend, a very dear friend that I loved, and they treated me that way, would I tolerate it?
Right.
And if the answer is no, then the relationship doesn't matter. The name that you put
Mm-hmm.
on the relationship, it's the energy around it. So yeah, sometimes we have to do those things. And and we grow, right?
Yeah.
We
When is
absolutely
setting those boundaries because you're in the process of focusing on your needs and being balanced as a person and really focusing on mental health and being in a good place within yourself and your mind, you are also
yeah,
setting a boundary, not just with people, but energetically with the universe. And the universe takes
yeah,
those cues and says, oh, they're not accepting anyone who's like this anymore. This kind of energy doesn't fit with them. And they've put a stop to it. We've got to reformulate the people we're sending to them or connecting with them with
exactly.
because now we have to align them to what they choose and prefer.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that. Love that about the universe. Okay, so we have 9 questions remaining, and you guys, I will close the questions off for now. We're at 41 minutes. Let's just make sure that I don't wear Fernie out, and that maybe this will be a good experience, and he'll want to come back.
Oh,
So,
for sure. Oh, you can't wear me out. You can't wear me out. Trust me. I'm a workhorse. I'm used to
uh,
25 lattes in a minute. I got it. I
oh
got it.
yeah, yeah, yes, yeah. Are you one of those people that that
Mhm.
that can have a latte or can have an espresso and say, "Okay, good night, I'm going to bed," and fall
Yeah.
asleep?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's exactly who I am.
yeah. That's me. That's me. And people say, "Well, how do you do that?" I don't know. I just do. I just do. So yeah. And you're welcome, Eleonora. You're very welcome. Okay, so Lottie B, I'd love to know, if possible, how many past lives I've had.
Did you want to take a stab at it first?
I'm thinking 118. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. 118. What do you say?
I see 37 on this planet, which is interesting because I feel like there's been a lot on this planet Terry system or in this system. I see
Yeah,
37. So you're probably taking and looking at all of her lifetimes from the various systems that she's probably been a part of.
could be.
Hmm.
Yeah, could be. Because
Yeah.
yeah, because we all, yeah, we don't start on Earth. We start somewhere else.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
then this is,
Well, Earth is just only one of the most recent systems to be
yes,
colonized or to be inhabited because there have been other systems in our solar system that have also been inhabited, and then that takes us to other systems and other regions of space. So,
yeah,
with Lottie, I'm definitely seeing one specific lifetime that I think you. Interesting enough, I almost want to say this is around the timing when I had one of my previous lifetimes, and this would have been about 3000 BC, where this was back when ancient Egypt wasn't known as Egypt; it was known as Tiamat, and it was a former kingdom that was kind of lost in time. And so, some of the old ancient records will reveal and share some of those details. But there was a very established kingdom at that time, and there was a lot of trade between Tiamat and some of the surrounding regions as well. That's when you had the area of the what was it? It was the island of Thera, or the well, it was a volcano, but it was the island of Thera, and some of those interesting. It was actually the same time frame that I had one of my prior lifetimes as well. So right off of in the Mediterranean, there is off the island of Crete, there is a volcano called Thera, and it erupted and it collapsed into the ocean. And as it collapsed into the ocean, what I remember from my lifetime is I was on a ship when this happened, and it collapsed and the volcano collapsed into the ocean, caused a massive tsunami, which pretty much devastated and decimated that side of Crete. And so that civilization, which were the Minoan civilization, they were just obliterated in a sense, and that
Yeah.
civilization kind of died itself out. There was a lot of migration to other surrounding areas and regions. So I what I'm seeing for you is the same thing as I see you on a vessel that would have transported goods back and forth between that island chain and then also Tiamat and some of the other areas as well. Ancient Judea was also, part of that area as well. So I can see that as being one of your past lifetimes. And you're a male in that lifetime. You were only like 23 or 24 years old, but you were a work hand. You worked on the vessels that were transporting all these goods.
Yeah. And I pulled a card, and oddly enough, I got the dryads. Okay, and this talks about wisdom and grounding. So, yeah, your part of your purpose in these different lives is to share wisdom and um, basically calm people down. Like it's
Mhm.
you get them to calm down, to ground themselves, um, to just kind of be a little more peaceful and patient. I guess that's maybe that's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, that seems to be what most of your life times have in common, at least according to me. But hey, what do I
Mhm.
know?
Mhm. Well, I mean, the idea of grounding people, if there's a war going on or there's some sort of dispute and you're mediating or you're getting people to settle or to just come to agreements, that may be an ongoing theme that she's having to face in this lifetime that's repeating itself.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. Uh, and Debbie Kane, are you here? I would like to know the origin of the yeast problem with Evie, my friend's dog. It's in the food. Yeah, check and see if they have recently changed the food that she's eating, or have incorporated like a dry food in with her. But there's some chemicals in there that are not agreeing with her.
Hmm.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
getting.
Yeah, I'm also getting that she might need to have the liver levels checked for the dog because what I'm seeing is that the liver's having trouble processing certain things, and there are certain proteins are found in the food that the dog is eating that the liver's not able to kind of process out. And so I feel like what's happening is there's a conflict there where the liver is essentially not doing its job as effectively, which is kind of allowing for some of these other issues to start to develop, and it's creating an environment or dynamic that is allowing for this yeast issues to begin to grow and evolve and expand without any control. So I feel like
Yeah.
it's this like ongoing issue with the yeast levels and these types of proteins through the liver level through the liver function.
Yeah. So if they yet and Deb says, yeah, the food not changed in a long time. That could be a problem as well. It's how sometimes um, you go to the doctor and you get an antibiotic, and then they give you another antibiotic
Hmm.
and an antibiotic all the time, and after a while you develop a resistance to what you're getting, so you got to go to something else. So um, yeah, go to the vet, have like Fernie said, have the liver levels checked, and then maybe shift the food a little bit and see if it doesn't make a difference. You can
Hmm.
let them know to give that a try. Okay. Where are we? Okay. And Wiki would like a message from her dad. All right. And Ricky is here. Very good. Okay. Um, oh. I see him tipping the hat. So I don't know if that was something that he did regularly, but it's like it's his way of saying hello. He's kind of tipping the hat. So hi, Lisa. Don't worry about being late. You're just on time. Hmm. Oh, he used to like to tell stories, and he particularly liked the stories, the tall tales. And yeah, he would having him tell a story was like it was a production. He would start off with well, what had happened one time, and I heard, and then he would go on to describe every little thing about it and kind of take you through it. There was no quick stories with him. Oh yeah, I went to the grocery store, and you know what, there was a fight outside. No, it's going to take an hour while he walks you through all of it. But um that was part of his charm, was he could entertain. So, and he, yeah, always shining through. That's what I'm getting.
Hmm. Yeah. What I'm seeing, Wiki, what I'm seeing is, so I'm seeing the number 12, but I kind of want to flip it backwards. So I'm thinking there's a 12 or a 21 association or reference. Now, that can mean a few things. If we're looking at the number 12, then that would be the 12th of a month, any month, or the month of December. If you flip it backwards, it would be the 21st. So it would be the 21st of a month. But there's a reference there. So just FYI with that. But I'm not just getting one male. I'm getting three males in spirit. And I want to say that two of them feel very father like in nature. So I'm not sure if you have a father-in-law, a stepfather, or there's another father figure that you have a connection to, because I'm seeing three. And then the other male actually feels like a younger male to your peer, who would be someone that would have been someone you would have known on as a peer. So that would be like a spouse or a friend or a brother or a cousin or a coworker, etc. So there's a male on that level that comes across in that way. It also feels like, so one thing that they were showing me, I'm not sure this is your father, this is one of the other males. I'm thinking this is dad connected, but I was seeing, so I was wanting to connect the nerve with the nerve, and then also the artery. And I was like trying to figure out what was going on, because I was seeing something weird coming into my heart, and then I was getting kind of this weird response or weird interaction. And I'm also thinking that there was something going on with the heart function, or the regulation of the heart was having trouble, and there were some issues there as well. So I'm seeing these two things kind of happening simultaneously. But it's interesting, because it could be technically triggered by the heart that would trigger this thing with the brain, or it's whatever's going on with that artery, and that causing this reaction within the system. I'm also thinking that butterflies and ladybugs are going to be a sign from your dad, because I keep seeing butterflies, and I'm seeing it kind of in decor, and then I'm also seeing ladybugs. So you might have ladybugs kind of showing up in the weirdest places as well. He's also doing this. He's almost acknowledging, and he's stretching out his arm, almost as he wants me to see that his arm is not feeling the way it was, or there's no issues with what's going on. Got it. He had a few heart attacks. Makes sense. So he's almost acknowledging also the sensations that he was having happening here in his arms, and that's much better. So I'm not sure there was a nerve issue that was also affecting this, or this is just what he was feeling because of the heart attacks. So he's also making reference to that as well. He also showed me he's doing this. So I don't know if you have a watch that is connected to him, or if there's a clock that you have that's in reference to your dad, but he's doing this as well. So there's a reference to that also.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I hope that is very helpful to you, Wiki. Okay. And Angel, please guide me. Will Kafil give me a positive response? Okay. Will Kafil give me a positive response? I'm not sure I understand. Is Kafil a person?
I think it might be someone that they're in a relationship with or are involved with, or they're trying to get some sort of positive reaction to. Is what I'm thinking.
Okay. All right.
Hopefully, she can validate. That's what we're thinking.
Yes. Yeah. If you can just, Angel, if you're here, please let us know so that we can tune in and make sure that we're reading on the right thing. Yeah. Yeah. And uh, Emily, I'm sorry, hon. The questions are all closed for now, but you know what? You can come back. You next time that Fernie is having a live, and you can post a question, or you could come back on Wednesday for Sisters of the Mystical Tarot. Just make sure that you post your question in the comment section of the thumbnail below, but or
Yeah.
the thumbnail referring to the show.
Yeah, and
Okay.
Angel, and I'll say Angel because she hasn't responded, but I'll say Angel. So what I'm thinking is I'm thinking that there's a misconnect between you and Kafil. And I feel like what you want and what Kafil want are two separate things. And I think that you might be expecting too much from someone who it's not in their nature or not part of their persona to be giving you what you're desiring from the situation. So my thinking is that this is just going to continue to be this conflictive situation. And you might, in some instances, wonder if maybe you're just misinterpreting or maybe that they are not being clear in how they're expressing themselves. But I feel like they're being clear. You just may not be acknowledging that
Yeah.
they have a very set way of how they're wanting to deal with things, and it just feels like a disconnect. I feel a complete disconnect from the situation. So I feel like this is just going to continue to be the same scenario over. It's like a
Yeah.
cyclical, comes in a circle.
Yeah. Yeah. You're being yeah, absolutely. You're being told what the answer is. You're just not ready to hear what the answer is.
Yeah.
So you keep looking for, signs all over the place that it's something other than what it is. But okay. Here we go. And new love. Will I be in a relationship with Henrik? Heinrich. Hmm. Oh, um, Sharon Type is Fernie is asking if you can make her a moderator on your channel.
Um, I'm not sure how to do that.
Well, if you go, okay, if you see her name in your chat, you should be able to, if you click on the name, it should give you some options.
I've
And
got, let's see, I got Christina because Christina is the mod on my channel, so she's in the room I think at this moment. But Christina, if you can coordinate with Sharon, and then that way, or communicate with Sharon, and then that way she can kind of get some help with
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, because Sharon, oh my gosh, Sharon Type is moderator extraordinaire. She is everywhere. And yeah, if she's around, trolls generally don't show
Yeah.
up because,
Yeah, usually on my lives when I do my Wednesdays and my TikTok, it's on Instagram and on TikTok every Wednesday and every Friday. I have three really incredible moderators. I've got Xtina, I call her Xtina, but it's Christina, and then I also have my Ray, Rochelle, and then I also have my Cassidy. And usually they're bouncing between the different, but they're like on it,
I
like white
know,
on rice, and they're like, and they're just getting
yes,
things done. And it's so much. I appreciate them so much because without them, it really would be a bit of a mess, and people would be completely confused and all over the place. So they keep it
totally.
just
Yeah,
rolling really fast.
yeah, yes, they do. Absolutely. Okay. So, um, will I be in a relationship with Henrik? Um, well, you'd like to be. You're, you're,
you're,
you're really
you're kind of
hoping.
saying that. You're kind of saying what you need to say with that.
Yeah. Um, but you're, yeah, no,
Mhm.
it's smoke and mirrors.
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
yeah, I got the same
no,
thing. I say no as well. I actually think that Henrik's involved with two other people. So I'm thinking there's two other influences or connections that he's invested in, and the one that you're involved, the connection you have isn't a priority. So I'm not feeling
Yeah,
confident about it.
yeah. So you just let him go. Say bye bye. Oh, Viviani's here. Hello, Viviani. Rachel Duran, Christina Liamis. Is that your moderator?
Yes, Christina. Yeah, she's in there, and Ray is
Perfect.
also in here as well.
Okay, and what I should do is, while we have a minute, I am going to try to find Christina on here. Oh, she's not in my chat. Okay. Well, Christina, next time you're in my chat, come on over. I'll make your moderator. Just remind me. So there. Yeah. Oh, New Love says, "Oh, I didn't know that." Yeah. Sorry about that. Okay. Roseflower, I would like to get a reading. Oh, a love reading. I Oh my gosh, I did not sleep well last night, and it's showing. Yeah, I would love to get a reading. Okay, Roseflower, anything in particular?
Yeah, be a little more
Yeah,
specific. Are you
yeah.
asking about a specific situation
Oh,
or a
she's saying
specific
not
girl?
a love reading. Okay, all right, fine,
Right,
fine.
because she feels confident about that.
Jeez,
Well,
general.
general is too general. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah,
so Rose, here's how I work. So whenever I do readings for people, my brain is like an octopus. When people say I would like a reading, that's a 30-minute process, and I go into a lot of depth. So if it's going to be like a short connect on like online, what I need you to do is just point me in the direction of what you need me to fixate on, so I can really go into it and give you what you want to know. Because sometimes people will show up in my lives and be like, I want a reading. I'm like, okay. And so if I were just going to pick something out of the blue, I might pick something that you're not really interested in hearing about. I might be talking about go get your heart checked because there might be some issues with palpitations, and you might be thinking, oh, I didn't want to hear about that. I wanted to hear about my money, and then my job's going to get any better. Well, then ask that. So be specific. Okay, see, that's what I figured, career and money, which is what I was asking. So thank you. And I'll go into that first. So as far as the career is concerned, I think that your job or your work situation is going to stay relatively stagnant or the same for about 2 years, meaning that I really don't think a whole lot's going to be changing there. I do think there might be some communication or some interaction with someone either through your job or through your contacts around December or January that might lead to a potential change, because there are some changes either happening with the organization or in the industry. So in the next year for 2024, you may find yourself feeling a little bit scattered, like not sure what steps to take next or what you need to do. But then when we go into 2025, definitely see a shift at that time. So I'm thinking you are going to be changing either organizations, or you're going to be changing positions around the beginning of 2025. So early 2025, change of roles, change positions, or organizations at that time. Your income does go up, so that's a good thing. However, you need to get better with your budgeting and managing your money better, because I don't feel like you're being effective in achieving your goals there, and I don't feel like you're essentially you may not be living within your means. But I also think that there are some health or medical related expenses that may come up around that time that are going to interfere with that. So you're going to have to kind of do the very best that you can just to kind of manage your budget, bring some expenses down. I don't see your financial like future or your finances overall changing drastically for about 6 years. So it may take a while before you get your finances in order.
yep. What he said. Yeah, I pulled three cards and I got Call of the Muse. So yeah, there's something out there that uh, you're kind of going to be introduced to, and just kind of be open, ready, willing, to hear it, because then I follow it up with a willing release. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's what you're being called to do. Yet you're going to be able to give this up, and seeing beyond. So yeah, when this opportunity comes up, take a moment and see beyond what it is right now on face value. Make sure that you compare it to like do a true comparison. You know how some I'll give you an example. Um, there's Here's an office position. It It pays $40,000 a year, offers no benefits, and whatever. And then there's another position that offers 30,000 a year, but it has full benefits. It has a company car. It has something else. You got to take all that into consideration and not just look at the just the dollar figure, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look at all the other things that go with it. But yeah, I think there is change coming. Yeah. There we go. Oh my gosh, we're at an hour and 4 minutes. Okay. And uh, we did that. Oh, you know what? We're getting down. Great. And Amber, I would like to get a reading. Know if I have any gifts and how to practice. If you think you have gifts, you do. And if you think that you're an empath, you probably are. So, yeah, you're more than welcome, Rose. And Amber, are you here? And don't you find that most people kind of intuitively know
Mm-hmm.
what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's like, when you think of a seed, when a seed is planted and it is given just its basic elements to survive and to thrive, it starts to do exactly what's naturally aligned with it, which is to expand and to start to
yeah,
become what it's meant to become. And so, Amber, I think you have all of the psychic abilities. This is something that I'm very, very passionate about. We all have every single ability. It's not just clairvoyance or clairaudience or clairsentience or, it's not just about fixating on one specific skill. We may be more inclined to one, which, she was touching on your empathy and like your ability to sense emotions and connect on the emotional level. So you can fixate and focus on just that alone, but it's very limiting. And what I teach is you can expand every single ability to its full range. And we all can do that. Some of us are definitely going to be more inclined and more talented or skilled at what we
yes,
do. And even though people like to refer to it as a gift, I really just detest calling it a gift because it dismisses the years of training and work and effort that I've had to put into this. And so
yeah,
I might have had the gift of a beautiful voice, but unless I spend days and hours practicing and controlling and learning how to use it, it's not going to go anywhere. I'm going to plug in my course. And so if you want to know how to practice your abilities and understanding them, I literally just taught a workshop yesterday. It was a like 3.5 hour workshop on what this is, how this works for everyone, and how you can tap in and use it effectively and get control of it. So that way you can use it and it works really well consistently every single time. You're never going to be 100% accurate. You're never going to get to this level where everything is perfect and you're going to do exactly everything right, because no profession in this reality, in this world, is operates that way. A meteorologist isn't 100% accurate with the weather. A doctor isn't 100% accurate with diagnosing or solving or healing problems. So we psychics, we mediums, we intuitives cannot function on 100% as well. So it's not a realistic expectation, but you could get damn good. It just takes a lot of work and effort, but you have to understand how this works. So I would check out my workshop. I actually am going to be plugging that on my site later today, so that way it's available for people if they want to purchase it. But you just need to learn how this works and practice, practice, practice using it.
yeah. That's the big key. Yeah. I got healing of the heart. Um, into me, I see, and the power of purpose. So, yeah, you can intuit what your gifts are, and a little bit of thought reflection, a little bit of spending kind of uh, time with your soul, and yeah, meditation is spending time with your soul, and just ask your higher self, what is it? Where where should I be going? The answers will come. You just have to be willing to hear them. Yeah, and that the power of purpose. So set your intention that I'm going to get the messages, or set your intention that I'm going to sign up for Fernie's course and I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
find out how I can do all these things.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And Amber, by the way, Amber, if you are on a money crunch, because some people just can't afford something at this time, I do have a free course on my YouTube channel. So if you go to my YouTube channel, you can get there through my website. I have a free course for people who are just trying to get the basics down, because a lot of people come into this having a lot of different beliefs and different systems of practice, and they don't know how to kind of get concise and have something that's going to be consistent. So I created that course, and
Yeah.
it's for free. It's on my YouTube channel, so you can start just getting the basics
Perfect.
down and getting some basic training.
Perfect. Perfect. I love it. All righty. And we have got Karen Reed. When will I start my business? Okay, when I start my business, how long until it's successful? Okay, very good, Amber. Yeah, you'll find your way. You'll find your way. Yeah. Okay, Karen, when will I start my business? And how long until it's successful? Well, it's funny. This kind of feels like, and I hate it when this happens. When you answer a question with a question, okay, is when you start. How long until you're successful? How hard do you want to work at it? Uh, how how much time are you willing to invest in it? That's going to determine how successful you are. Um, Time machine. You get to decide. And don't forget, success can be judged on different scales, right? For you, success might be I have made I've made enough money that I've been able to pay for the space that I'm renting. That's success to me. Someone else, it could be that no, I've made these loaves of bread and I sold all of them in one day. That's success to them. So make sure that you clearly define what success means to you. Um, yeah, see it, feel it, touch it, write it down. No, be exacting in what you want, and then yeah, you will determine how successful it is. Sorry, answer
Kira,
the question with a
yeah.
question.
No, it's so I think you're trying to give her some information that she needs to hear. Kira, when I think of you, I'm immediately reminded of myself back when I was waiting for something to happen that was going to make things happen for me. And so I was at Starbucks. I wasn't happy. I was like, I need to get the hell out of here. And I was ready to start my consulting business, my private business. And I waited for years and years and years. I was waiting for someone to either discover me or for someone to just make it easy for me or for money to fall out of the sky so I could afford to start my business. I was waiting for a lot of different things to happen. And ultimately, I had to make the decision, okay, I'm starting today, right now. And so I started taking practical steps required by this world to start a business. I went to the courthouse, went to the city hall, got my DBA, and put my business paper. I was paid $75 and got my DBA. I started putting my reviews on all the different review sites. I started to create a website. I started to create a structure for how I was going to be conducting readings and how things would go. And I think that, we get so caught up in the idea of like, oh, I'm just going to like start my business today and it should be making sense. Unfortunately, that's not the reality of business situations. Usually it takes about ground if it is a business that is going to survive. If you're lucky, you can probably do it in 1 year, but it takes a lot of work and effort to make that happen. And it's strategy that will get you there faster. I don't think you have proper strategy. I don't think you have a clear plan. I don't think you have real intent to go to the city hall, do what you got to do. I don't think you have the real intent to follow through and come up with a strategy, come up with a plan, and then follow through. And so, as of right now, I don't see you having a successful business or starting one where it's going to continue to go. I'm not saying you can't. I'm not telling you you shouldn't. I'm saying right now, I don't see you as the personality type to want to do it and follow through in the way that it's required. And I'm telling you, as a business owner who pays a crap load of taxes, it is a lot of work. And I can see you maybe taking the first steps, having good ideas, because you have great ideas. The ideas, it's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like you're going to be fiddle farting around a bit too much, and you're not going to trust yourself and follow the process and have faith in the universe that it will help to bring you synchronicities to make this happen for you. So I can see you just like maybe putting a little bit of effort here and there, not seeing anything really happening besides that, and then just kind of continuing to pull back and turning into me in that cyclical pattern all those years where I really didn't do anything and I just wasted time. So that's what I'm seeing you doing. That doesn't mean you have to stick to that. You can say, Fernie, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to do it, Fernie. I'm going to prove it to you.
Yeah.
I'm going to start my business today. I'm going to the place today and signing up. Good. I want to hear that. I want to hear that passion. I want to hear that intensity from you, but I don't see you doing that. And so you have to decide when you're ready to start. But if you're going to start a business, just know basic business like 101 usually takes about 2 years. And in this economy, it might take 3, but 2 years to really get a business off the ground. If you're really good with your strategy and you utilize all of your resources, you can probably do it in a year, but it's going to come down to you.
Yeah. There you go. Okay. And this is our last question. Yay. Not yay, but you know what I mean. Yay. Will I hear from Jemiah again sometime in the future? Yay. You're welcome, Kiara. Guido juice, thanks, but no thanks. See you later. Mm. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I don't think you're going to hear from Jemiah in the future. I feel like the ship has sailed. You might have interactions like on social media or online, but I'm really not thinking there's going to be much interaction with Jemiah.
Yeah, there's there is a divine matrix to all this, and it that person came into your area for a specific reason.
Mm-hmm.
You're now getting a higher view. You're getting kind of like the oracle's gift. Okay, is you're starting to get a little more clarity into things. And sometimes when we learn valuable lessons from people, and we need to recognize when the lesson is over.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think the lesson is over. You've progressed beyond that.
Yeah. But sometimes we have, when people, sometimes when I've talked to people, they're like, oh, I don't want to waste my time on a relationship or on a friendship if it's not going to. But there are times where those experiences serve us on a soul level, and they also serve us on a advancement level when we're trying to grow as people. Without all of the difficult and challenging relationships of my childhood with my stepfather and friends, or people in school who were teasing me constantly and taunting me, or just the early relationships that were fairly toxic, without having had those experiences, I would not be able to support or sustain a relationship, period, because they taught me what love was, what wasn't, connection, what real connection looks like. And so I always tell people, like, you're never wasting your time having an experience, but you don't have to drag it out if it's done. And if it's done, it's done. Like, there's nothing left. Move forward and take what you gained from that, even if it wasn't ideally what you wanted from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And Star Midnight says, yeah, thank you very much. I understand you perfectly. Yeah. Excellent. And funny, I looked at the bottom of the deck and it said sacred reverence. So, yeah, there you go. All right, I can put that away. So, wow, an hour, 18 minutes. Perfect, perfect. Thank you so much. This was so much fun for me. You know, you make it very easy uh, to read with you, to work with you. So I hope that you'll consider coming back.
Oh, I'd love to. I'd love to. I love it. You know, it's in this industry, especially with readers. There's a lot of this like pageantry and competitiveness. Like, oh,
Mhm.
I'm going to be better. I'm going to be better. And I'm like, no. Like, there's plenty. There's like billions of people on the planet. Don't worry about your business. Like, just connect with people and share and engage because
Exactly.
there's something that comes from that, and it's so nice to just connect with people who have that kind of open mindedness, that open heart, and the
Yeah.
willingness to just be vulnerable and connect on a very human level. And that's what makes us all connect with each other. Maybe if we were a little more open this way, there would be a little less violence or a little less craziness in the world.
I think you're absolutely right about that because there's with most of us have a lot more in common than not.
Yeah.
And yeah, if we st- step out of ego for just a minute,
Hmm.
it's not about how many followers you have. It's not about how many videos you do or whatnot. It's the intention. What are you putting out there? Are
Hmm.
you, are you telling the universe that the only way that I can truly value myself is if I see the subscriber number go up? Is
Hmm.
that what defines who I am? That's just a number. That
Yeah.
it doesn't, you know, if it was to disappear tomorrow, is my life over?
Right.
Is my purpose over? No, it carries on. So pay attention to what's really important. And yeah, connections are really important, and supporting each other is really important.
Yeah.
And giving a hand up or a handout or whatever,
Yeah.
right? That's what we're
Yeah.
supposed to do.
Yeah. I
So
think of that film, that Christmas film, where that gentleman, it's like I forgot the name of the film, where he is always helped everyone, and then he becomes in a state of need because of a issue with the money at the business.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The
It's a Wonderful Life.
Perfect Life. Yes, It's a Wonderful Life, where he was there for so many people, and then the moment came in his life where he also needed help and didn't realize that all these people were there for him as well.
Yeah,
And so I always say, don't worry so much about the viral content on social media or
yeah,
on YouTube. Worry about the viral connections that will
yeah,
expand your range of love and of
exactly.
just bonding on that level and helping each other and just being kind to each other. And I think that leaves a massive impact and a wave in this
Yeah,
world. And that's the most important thing, I think.
absolutely. Absolutely it is. We could talk about that for hours and hours because yeah, that's my big thing. That's one of the reasons my channel is called Heart Centered is,
Mm.
do things from the heart. Start with love, lead with love, end with love, and if you're not sure what to do, love.
Yeah.
just just do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
uh Fernie, thank you so much for this. Was uh, a lot of fun for me, and I will definitely be inviting you back if you'd like to come back.
I would
And
love
you're
to.
more than welcome anytime if you ever feel like doing a last minute, oh, I want to jump online, let me know. I could be free, and I'd be more than glad to jump on last minute. So,
Very good.
all right, you folks who have been here the whole time, thank you. Thank you. Love your support. Love the fact that you're here. Don't forget to go over to Fernie's channel and give him a like and a share and subscribe. And yeah, we'll take it from there, and we will see you later. All right, take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.